This is the magicwordpodcast.com.
Hello, this is Scott Wells for the magicwordpodcast.com. This week's episode is brought to you by the Friends of the Magic Word, and we're also brought to you by our sponsor, the Rabbit in Hat Magic Shop, which is in Locust Grove, Oklahoma. So, where is Locust Grove, Oklahoma, you might ask? Well, it's less than a 1-hour drive outside of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and the Rabbit in Hat Magic Shop is really an interesting place. I had visited it a couple of years ago and saw the vision that Clark May had for this place, and it was pretty phenomenal. Well, he's getting closer to this coming about. And let me just tell you a little bit about it, because he's also building, not only he has a magic shop there, but there's an outside area that is pretty cool, but he's also making this into a magic showplace theater. So when I say theater, it looks like it's probably going to be mostly close up to stand-up, probably more about the size of seating about 20 or 30 people, perhaps max. And right now he's saying that it's going to be an entertainment venue that's, as he said, built in the most unlikely of places in the small town of Locust Grove, Oklahoma, which is on beautiful Hudson Lake. He goes on to say that the magic aims to promote the art of close-up and parlor magic with a vintage magic shop, theater, and a restaurant. Well, the magic shop and the enchanted courtyard are complete and open most Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. And during the rest of the week, the shop is closed while construction resumes on an intimate and very ornate theater with accompanying restaurant where the guests can enjoy dinner seasoned with a touch of prestidigitation. Tentative plans are for the theater to be complete by this Christmas, provided that there are no construction delays, and then opening of the restaurant should hopefully follow some months afterwards. So I would encourage you that if you have any opportunity to be in the Oklahoma area, and in Tulsa in particular, to make the short drive over to visit Clark May's place. Again, it's called the Rabbit in Hat Magic Shop, and they have a Facebook page, too, that you might consider joining as well. Be sure to visit our website at themagicwordpodcast.com. There you'll see some photos that I have posted that show the detail and the beautiful, ornate structure and artwork that they are installing there. It's just a beautiful jewel that you should see. So, congratulations, Clark, on what you're doing to help promote magic. And what's kind of cool is that a few weeks ago that I had an episode called Late Bloomers, and talking about people who kind of got into magic later in life. Well, Clark is one of those guys who, after he retired, I believe it was from American Airlines, had decided to build this magic shop and then expand it to a little theater, and then the long-term plans of having this restaurant then as well. So it's pretty phenomenal, and I'm wishing him great success with this, because I'm starting to see a lot more clubs that are opening around the country, certainly, and different theaters, and as well as clubs, as I say, lounges, like the Chicago Magic Lounge, and of course Smoke and Mirrors out in Philadelphia, the House of Cards out in Nashville, and many others that are growing. Well, anyhow, I want to move on to this week's episode, because we have a lot in store for you here. It's a great conversation, actually. It was a late night conversation that we had. Recently, Christian Engblom had come through. He was touring with his lecture across the U.S., and when he stopped in Houston after the lecture, he came over to the house, and Chip Romero joined us, along with a couple of the local magicians, Rob Greenlee and Trujillo. And we had some martinis, and Christian had brought with him some Cuban cigars, so we kind of enjoyed those in the backyard, and it went on quite late. In fact, that you're going to get the feel as if that you're actually just sitting there with us, hopefully, and you can kind of hear some of the background noise a little bit. Hopefully it's not going to be too distracting as we're setting down our glasses or lighting the cigars or whatever, aircraft overhead or whatever. But again, you get the general idea that it's just the way the conversation is when you're outside and enjoying good weather and good company and some good magic. It was just a great conversation, and I think that you're going to be enjoying this then as well. A lot of really interesting stories that Christian shared with us. So please enjoy this conversation that we had late one night. Gosh, I think it probably went until about 3 in the morning. It was a good one. And so please welcome my guest this week, Mr. Christian Engblom, along with Chip Romero on The Magic Word.
The because
All right.
you cannot do
We're going to be talking a little bit then about some magic and some tricks and different things. So we've got Chip Romero here along with, go ahead, say something first, Chip, so we recognize your voice.
Thank you very much for having us, Mr. Wells. This is lovely.
And Cesar Trujillo. Cesar.
Hey, it's an honor to be here. Yeah.
And over there then to his left, my right, is going to be Christian Engblom.
Hey, Scott, I'm enjoying this. We're having a good time. Martinis and cigars.
We are. And then Rob Greenlee over here to my right.
What's up? What's up? Thank you for having me here, Scott.
You bet. So that's the way we're all sitting in the backyard, just having a martini and some good, lively conversation, along with martini and cigar. And so anyhow, just thought I would turn this on, kind of let you guys enjoy our conversation. And so I had a question, then we might talk about this again later, and you kind of brought this up, I think, at the lecture then, Christian, about when you had developed or how you developed, the reason you developed the Faro, the reverse Faro, I mean, what am I trying to say?
Anti-Faro.
Anti-Faro, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I was never able to explain to people why I invented it in the first place.
Yeah.
Actually, I invented it by mistake, but I was looking for a way to reset a full shuffle of Juan Tamaiz's, which he had never published. I had figured it out on my own after seeing Juan perform several times, and then I talked to Juan about it, and he said, "Oh, you can use it, just don't do it in front of magicians," because he was using it all the time. And I never did. I kept it for myself. I did it a lot in front of lay people, because it's one of the best full shuffles I know, if not the best.
Yeah.
So I developed the Anti-Faro to be able to reset that full shuffle very quickly in front of people. And I didn't call it the Anti-Faro, I just wanted the cards to be able to separate them. I wasn't looking for them to separate one by one, but lo and behold, after doing it for a few months, all of a sudden half of the deck was going so that the cards were going one by one, forward, backward. And I'm
as you're springing them from one hand to the other, just so people understand.
As I'm springing from one hand to the other, it's like a card flourish, except the movement is a lot smaller. I'm not separating my hands by feet.
Yeah.
It's like 6 inches.
Uh-huh.
And and I'm wondering what's causing this. And then I'm thinking, because I kept getting half a deck, separated one by one, and I thought, I wonder if I could practice enough to get the entire deck to separate one by one. So I started practicing, and it took me about 2 years. 2 years of constantly practicing, and my wife demanding that I stop practicing in front of the TV because there's a lot of sound when you spring cards.
She's demanding that you practice this
while
you're in
bed. She said, "It's a divorce or you stop." So yeah, I stopped. But by 2 years, I had already perfected it, and I also realized that when I can't do it perfectly, I have ways to correct it. I came up with a lot of corrections, and I thought it was interesting. It wasn't. I was never really using the Anti-Faro for any effects. When I did the full shuffle, I didn't want it to be perfect, so I decided to. I showed it around. I think one of the first magicians I ever showed it to was Michael Close. He was in Finland. I showed it to him as a curiosity, and then I asked him not to reveal it to anyone. And to his credit, he never did. He never told a single living soul. At one point, I think back in 2001, I published it in Genie magazine.
Yeah.
Richard asked me, and then he did a write-up of it. And later that year, I was performing at the Magic Castle. Well, no, I wasn't performing. Sorry, I was visiting the Magic Castle. I had gone one night, and then I was going back the next night. As I approached the door, I'm halted by Max Maven and Michael Weber, and they hijacked me. I mean, they would not let me go in. They said, no, you're coming with us. We're going to a diner and eat. So I knew Max, and I knew Michael Weber by looks. And,
you had never met them before.
I had seen him,
but not
I had
spending time with him.
Never spoken to him.
Yeah.
So I was awestruck. So yeah, sure, hijacked me away.
You didn't even get through the sliding panel. You didn't.
No. I didn't even get through the glass doors. They were waiting on the outside.
Yeah.
And they were there waiting for me.
Yeah.
They had
They
planned
knew you were
this.
coming.
They
Yeah.
had planned this.
Yeah.
So, so we went to a diner and sat, and Michael Weber didn't believe I could do the Anti-Faro. He believed it must be some gimmick. He wanted to see it for his own eyes.
Yeah.
You know, he really wanted to see it. And when I showed it to him, he just said, "Oh, I can't believe it. It's real.
It was real, yeah.
Really
Yeah.
real." And then I talked to him and showed him what makes it tick. And within 40 minutes, he was doing it. No other living soul has ever learned it that fast.
So I said, okay, what else you got?
No, I'm just saying that he had a good teacher.
Yeah,
That's all I'm saying. He's a genius.
Yeah,
what can I say? Really a
It
genius.
sounds like the story when Vernon and Charlie went to see
That was
the center deal.
exactly what I was about to say.
It repeats itself.
The
They were
elusive
waiting 'cause
center deal that they didn't
had to
believe it
see
existed.
Right. So they had to see it for themselves. That's very reminiscent of the Vernon story.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
That's great.
And wasn't that the story whenever he went to Kansas to find that guy, Fawcett Ross had
John
told
Kennedy.
yeah.
His name was John Kennedy.
Yeah, and there was a guy then I think in the street or something. Some little kid that said, "Well, the guy you're looking for is up the street." You know,
Little girl was eating licking ice cream.
Yeah.
And they asked him, the little girl told them, and they said,
Yeah.
a child will lead them.
a child shall lead them. Yeah,
Ricky Jay told that story.
yeah.
But it's very reminiscent of that story.
Yeah, well, actually, that move, for the little use that it actually has, being a perfect move, I mean, a perfect. Other magicians have come up with routines with it. Even Michael Weber came up with some routines for it. But honestly, none of those routines, in my opinion, warrant the difficultness that you need to do it. It's a curiosity. But that curiosity opened a lot of doors for me. I got to meet a lot of great magicians because they wanted to see the move in person. I mean, I was in Vegas and Johnny Thompson came to I was playing poker at the Binions Horseshoe. He came there. And we spent several hours just sitting. That was our first meeting. You know, just talking about magic and doing magic and showing him this move.
Did he figure
That's
out?
how I met.
Anything to do with it? He just said, "That's cool."
No.
No
Yeah,
trick.
He was,
it's just,
no. He was just interested, and
Sure.
and he showed me a lot of things that Bernard never put into public. You know, never
Print.
printed.
Yeah. Huh.
That's how I met Ricky Jay. First time I met Penn was the Desert Magic Seminar, and he again came to look for me and found me and asked me to show it to. So David Blaine looked me up back in 2000. So this was before 2001, because Bill Kalush knew I can do this move. So he had told Blaine, and Blaine found me in Lisbon at the FISM. So he looked me up and asked me to do it. So that's when we met for the first time with David.
What was the trick that he said for you not to publish? David Blaine told you this.
Well, I mean, he was doing a trick. First of all, there was a trick that was discussed as one of the topics. Well, Paul Curry was the topic of El Escorial, the card magic meeting that Juan puts up every last weekend of October in Spain.
Mm-hmm.
And back in 2006, Paul Curry was the topic, and Woody Aragon, before Woody became famous, was talking about 2 a.m. about this one trick in Spanish, by the way.
Yeah.
That's a good trick, but there's a problem with it. Now, I'm sitting in my chair sleeping, because it's 2 a.m. and I'm tired. So I'm just, resting my eyes, not really being present anymore. And
Your
Woody
cigar's
is
going out
explaining.
there.
No, it's still going. It's
Okay.
still going. So it's a trick where there's a drawn circle. I think it's. I don't know in which book it's published, but it is. There's a circle drawn to the card, and when the spectator cuts the deck and turns the packet where they want face down, so the drawn circle is face to face with another card, and then you spread the card that it's face to face with is now printed inside the circle of that card. So I mean, it's like a force of a card.
Oh, okay.
But you can examine the cards. There's a gaff.
Yeah.
And he said that Paul Curry would switch that gaff right after the routine. And he would handle the cards himself. He'd just put it in his pocket, the gaff, and take out another card. No explanations.
That way he could hand out the deck.
Yes, but so he was not a professional performer, so he did not see a problem with that. But Woody thought it's a problem. Anyway, I'm sleeping in my chair, and whatever is filtering through, I just all of a sudden jump out of the chair and say, I know exactly what to do, And an idea came to my mind. I couldn't show it because we lacked the necessary gaffes. But I tried to explain it. I don't know if they realized it. And next year when we were back, I showed it around to people. And people who knew the original were fooled by it. Because you don't switch anything. The spectator does the switching for you, and they don't know. Beautiful. So I changed it. And inside the circle, I choose, for instance, the 8 of diamonds as my force card that gets printed inside the circle because it's the only symmetrical card in the deck.
That's my card. What is your card? Mine's 8 of diamonds. What's your card?
It's the 8 of diamonds.
Same as mine. It's all right. Chip, you got a card?
4 arms.
Caesar?
10 of diamonds.
Rob?
8 of clubs.
What?
8 of clubs.
There you go.
So I have the 8 of diamonds because it's the only symmetrical card.
Yeah.
It's I call it "What would Hitler do?" It's not politically correct.
Okay.
I'll tell you that. But
Nazi.
no, I'm not. When I was
for the outcome, because we know he killed a lot of people.
Yeah.
What do you think about what Hitler do? Don't kill us.
No,
We're good in this story.
But that's why I choose the 8 of diamonds, and I talk about it usually in my workshops, but where we have more time to go into this. But when I was a young kid, my teacher, she was married to the Archbishop of Finland. She was very religious, but she was very smart, very kind. She had traveled all over the world, met interesting people because of her husband. And one of these people was a French resistance fighter from the Second World War, a Jew. And this fellow had, before the war, gone and listened to Hitler's speeches. Because, he wanted to know what's this about. I mean, he didn't agree with it, but he wanted to know what's coming. And all of a sudden, during one of these rallies, he got really scared. It's not what Hitler was saying. It's what, and it's not what the other people were doing. They were just, doing this with the right hand, just,
Heil Hitler.
And screaming at the top of their lungs, Heil Hitler.
Yeah.
He got scared because he himself was doing it as well.
Oh.
He was doing exactly the same as
everyone else. He was caught up in
else.
the frenzy.
In the frenzy.
Yeah.
And he just realized, what am I doing? Oh, this is horrible. And he left. Now, that story stuck with me because, excuse me, I'm puffing a little bit of cigar here.
Yeah.
So, it stuck me with when I became a professional performer, I would have some shows that were wonderful, some shows that were incredible, and some that weren't.
Okay, haven't we all?
Yeah. But every once in a while, I'd feel that the audience is in the palm of my hand.
Sure.
And that I could do nothing wrong. And I always wanted to try to reach that. And it was very difficult. I didn't understand why. Sometimes I would not, and sometimes I would. I just didn't understand.
Were you always doing the same show?
No. I mean, I'm talking about close-up magic in general. But just getting that feeling with the audience.
Okay.
Yeah. And little by little, I began to understand that it's a lot of little different things. One of them being group hysteria, or shall we say, that people feel like one entity. They feel one with each other. Not just the audience, but with the performer. That we all are one being. It becomes a lot easier also to fool people when they are, or to succeed in our magic when they are just one being. You just have to fool one collective brain and one pair of eyes.
Huh, okay.
But instead of 100 individuals.
So don't think about them as individuals. Think of them en masse as a group
and
of
you
one.
Want to achieve that. Huh. Now, Ascanio probably came up with this as well, because I've read that he wanted to perform a minimum of 45-50 minutes. He didn't want to do shorter shows than that. And I believe it's because he felt that it took that long before people would feel like they are in one group, that they would forget themselves and become a part of the group. As a matter of fact, I believe a lot of us performers, magicians especially, we are able to put people not under hypnosis, but in a suggestive state. We're able to make them forget their individuality. And I believe that's what Hitler was doing. He was able to get people to forget themselves.
And become part of the mass.
Yeah, which is why this Jewish to-be resistance fighter was shouting Heil Hitler at the top of his lungs, just like everyone else. Even though it went deeply against, his core beliefs.
Core beliefs, yeah.
So, all of this put together, one of the things I think that helps is that people experience the same thing at the same time. That they experience and feel that my neighbor is feeling exactly what I'm feeling, exactly at the same time. And this lowers inhibitions and makes us feel like we're a part of a group. As an example, I would say a stand-up comic will deliver a line, and the audience will get it all, and they'll laugh. And, it'll get funnier as the show progresses. At the end, they'll be peeing their pants, because they have no more self-control. It's just, ha, 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 ha. On the contrary, if there is a stand-up comic that's too cerebral or targeted just small groups of audience, let's say that the joke is a little too clever, that 15% of the audience gets it. And then it takes time, and maybe 20-30% get it. And then half of the audience, they don't get it until you explain it to them. Now that will create divisions within the audience and within the group, and they won't feel like one.
So if you say a joke like, how many surrealists does it take to change a light bulb? The answer is fish.
Yeah.
Those people who
Somebody will get it and go, ha, 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 ha. And the others, what?
What? Yeah.
And they will definitely feel not part of the group.
Yeah.
So it's a way to actually prolong or even completely destroy that possibility. Now, as a magician, yes, most of the time we're able to convey the same emotions to the audience. But one of those things is that the effect must be clear and preferably understood at the same time. Now, in this particular trick, when they get to turn over the card with the 8 of diamonds in the circle, it is clear from no matter which side of the table you're sitting on that that's an 8.
Oh.
And that's a diamond.
Gotcha.
If it were a 6 or a 9, ooh, even for a split second. I mean, they might accept it.
There's no confusion. Take all distractions away. Every single distraction.
Everything away. They react at the same moment. They feel the same moment. And I think little things like this, it will diminish the time needed for the group to feel like one. And once you're able to do this, you have done what Hitler did, but you're doing it for good. We're doing it for good.
Right.
And
using our powers for good, not for evil.
Yeah. I mean, it's our responsibility how to use this power, and we can abuse it or we can use it well. And I think using it well is
we're working on stage and getting paid. We're trained monkeys. Max Maven was right. Magicians have done more to destroy the mystery of magic in the last century than ever in the history of man. He's right. We used to be priests. We started out as priests.
Yeah.
Now we're jumping like up and down in monkeys in Las Vegas. We're not very smart. We used to be feared. We used to be the witch doctors.
Yeah,
now we're doing card tricks. But hey, we're getting paid for it and everybody happy. Yeah. we really are. We're not hurting anybody. We're creating experiences and loving emotions.
Well, here's the thing. I still believe that, and I think it's very questionable, morally questionable, actually even condemnable, to use our skills to start religions.
I agree with you.
And there are people who do it.
Correct.
Yeah. I could have done it.
Yeah.
And hey, if this was 500 years ago, we'd all be dead. They'd have killed us.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree.
So I would think it'd be more difficult for a stage magician, Chip, like you, who is, you speak to the audience also, but there are times which you're just using music and dance for illusions.
Sure.
It is harder, I would think. Well, the effect is clear. You cut somebody in half to put it back together. But to weave a story around that and have an emotion, let's say like what Tamaiz would do, or Renee Levon would be a perfect example. Someone who brings in emotion and love and everything, and that you go on this exotic trip with him mentally as opposed to an illusionist.
It is hard to bring that how could I say, that degree of emotion and illusions. The only person that ever really did that was Copperfield. Copperfield
Richie Hardy, maybe. No, Copperfield probably. Yes,
I'm saying, well, Copperfield's MO was boy meets girl, boy loses girl, and they get together, and everybody's happy. Every single thing he did, whether it was kids, whether it was the little girl for the birds. So Copperfield
had a vignette,
is the greatest of the emotional tellers, in my opinion. I think that's what made him famous.
I see what
was
you're
his
saying.
Emotions. Because
Doug Henning didn't do that, and you're a big Doug Henning guy. I mean,
no, Doug Henning had different types of emotions, but David really put it on thick.
Exactly.
And when David said, "Sometimes memories, they're all you have." Oh my God, I wanted to cry. I want to go get in the attic with him, and I want to see the girl.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying that so it's hard to get emotions from illusions unless you're David Copperfield telling a story, and you've also got 5 minutes. Remember, we got 12 minutes at Magic Island. Yeah. I've got to do a Temple of Benares, a zigzag, and a sub-trunk in my 12 minutes and get my money. I don't have time for filler. So I'm still on what he said about an audience, about how to get an audience to feel that way. I want to jump back on that.
Yeah.
Atmosphere, I think, is incredibly important. I think when they enter the room, the show starts when they walk into the door. And I was on cruise ships 29 years, so I was in the same place every week, and I saw different audiences. And I can tell you this: some of the quietest audience wrote the most comments about me, and I can't explain that and also some of the quietest audiences would stand up at the end. And I said, why did they stand up? What did I do different? And so, obviously you keep doing it. I was going to say, if you do a joke that not everybody gets, eventually you take that joke out, and you keep putting a joke in that at least 75% will get. And most of my audiences were 1,100 seats. And so you get a joke, 800 people laughing, it rings hard. And I always felt that way, that you would pull them, you would bring them as one and then take them where you want. And if you were real confident and you knew what you were doing, like I'd open with a blammo, because in the first 60 seconds, that thing exploded and a girl come running forward. If you hadn't seen my Welcome Aboard show, in the first minute you thought, okay, this is going to be good, all right. But all I would say is that there was some weeks, you get an audience that just loved you. And I called them the hysterical hand clappers. They just loved everything. And then there were some weeks that they
sit on their hands.
Entertained me.
Yeah.
And then they would give you the largest ratings. So I never could try to find out how to explain it. And they'd say there's no such thing as a bad audience. Yes, there is. It is true. It does exist.
Of course.
And if you go watch Star Wars 7 times in a row that's identical, there will be different reactions. There is a such thing as a bad audience.
Of course.
And every now and then we get one.
And it depends what frame of mind the audience is.
That can be another element.
You could go into perform for a corporation, and they're in the midst of a corporate
takeover
or something, something that affects the mood negatively.
Yeah.
So yes, of course. And you can always take them on your magic bus ride. You can try.
Sometimes they don't want to go. Sure.
That's what Johnny Thompson said.
Sure.
I was just talking with somebody here just a week or so ago, and I think it was Dave McGee, or somebody was saying that
it's a fine ash. That's a fine ash.
He said, I saw Johnny Thompson have a bad show, and like you said, nobody was applauding, kind of sitting on their hands or whatever. And afterwards, he went back in the dressing room, and my friend saw him, and he was just sitting there with a glass of scotch. He said, Dave, that you can buy it or pay for a ticket for them to get on the ride, but that doesn't mean they're going to get on with you.
Avner Eisenberg, he explained once that as a comic, you're trying to make people laugh.
Right.
But if you can't make them laugh, just roll with the show, do your show. You'll just get out of there quicker. Just finish what they paid you for to do.
Yeah.
That's it.
A lot of entertainers on ships.
It's out of your hands.
Your hands, yeah.
A lot of entertainers on ships will get mad if people leave early, or they'll get mad if they don't react correctly. And I constantly have to remind them, no, you're getting paid to do this.
Yes.
It's not their job to be there for you.
No.
So if they get up, they might have to go to the bathroom. Now, we make jokes and stuff. I'll say, wash your hands, we're going to have popcorn later. But the fact is no, those people paid to be on that cruise, and the entertainers get mad if they don't clap for them. No, it's not their fault. If they don't want to clap, it's okay. Hey, at least they showed up. Most of them are tired from being in port all day. They were at the Acropolis, and then they go to the magic show, and you're like, you people are dead. Right, they've been up since 6. You should just be glad that they're there. I used to go out and just go, thank you for being here, because I'm tired. I got up early today, and I ran here. What did y'all do? They're like, whoa. And so, but anyway, I'm just saying, a lot of performers think the audience is there for them. It's not true. We're being paid. We've got to be professional, whether we're happy or not, right?
Well, there's a lot of times you'll show up and do a corporate show, in which that's the last thing that they want to see as a magician. That
happened to me at Perry's party, and I'll say this too on the record. They even said, because they had Ben Jackson the year before, God's Honest Truth. They said, "Oh, Ben was better," and because all I did was rope, rings, and newspaper, and half died. So they've been seeing that for the last 25 years. He gets a magician every year.
Now, I got him at the Tropos this year.
And they had Ben Jackson, and I said, "Perry, tell me, what did they say?" They said, "Oh, you don't want to hear it." I said, "Oh, no, I do. I'm okay. Boss, I'm a professional. I know I'm not."
You can take it.
And he's like, "They liked it." I said, they're full. But I did it as a joke. I said, "It's not my fault." I said, "They've been seeing magic for 30 years. I said, "They think all the rope tricks are rope tricks." Anyway, I'm going to shut up. But that's a shout out to Ben Jackson too, because we just saw Ben a couple of weeks ago, and Ben did a great show. Yeah, and I told you I'll go back with you if you want to go.
Yeah, I do.
How do you like the cigars?
I love them. Thank you. They're
thank you
excellent.
very much. These did you get these in Havana or did you?
No, I had a contact who brought them to Finland actually. So from Havana to Finland to Texas.
Back to Texas. Well, thank you very much.
Now these are Churchills, yes? Aren't these called Churchills? So Cohiba Churchills. For those of you not here.
This is a Cohiba Bejique number 56 because that's the ring gauge.
Size.
Yeah.
Ring gauge. Okay.
And here's the thing: you won't find these anymore because they.
Your friend bought them all.
No, because Cohiba gets the best tobacco plants.
Yeah.
The Bejique, they use the top 2 leaves of each best tobacco plant.
Oh, okay.
And they don't grow every year. So they ran out. And if you look online for these, you won't find them anywhere. And if you do find them, the price is like $150 each.
Each, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Well, thank you.
Well, all I did was buy you lunch. I did good. I made money on this deal.
Before you think I'm a saint, I don't know what truck these fell from.
But we got them.
But I know that they are real.
Yeah.
But I pay €10 each. That's like $12 each.
Yeah.
For something that, if you could get them, would be $150. So
I'm glad.
I'm just saying. And
thank you again.
No worries. And I know they're real because I've smoked these earlier when they weren't as expensive. Okay. And when the real ones, real ones.
We were down,
and I know these are real.
We were there for Havana, Cuban Magic Cuba.
I wanted to go, but I asked them to book me. I don't travel anymore
unless they pay you.
No, it's the only way I get out of the house. I'm married.
Yeah.
I have a child.
I wanted to say you said the move. You said the wife was getting upset. If that would have been a great move, he'd be divorced. Right? Because think about it. You said, "Well, there's not a whole lot you can do after a couple of years. I got it." Boy, if that would have been a diagonal palm shift, you'd be divorced, and because you've been doing that move a lot.
Yeah, but that was a great convention, and it was intimate, a lot of fun.
Matt King was there.
Matt King was there. Yeah, Michael Godot and Bill Hers and John Stetson and Dave Cox, Ossie Wind, Eric Mead, just to drop a few names.
That's a great lineup. Wow.
Yeah, and there were only like 70 magicians there, and it was awesome.
Really?
Yeah.
Why such a small convention?
I think some people didn't want to go to Cuba. I had some emails because I was promoting this on the podcast, and I had at least 2 people who wrote me. Which, when they do, that represents a larger percentage, of course, who had said they felt like they didn't want to give money to a communist government to promote their communism, basically, because the money that was going towards tourism was really going towards the communist government, essentially, in Cuba. And
don't they realize that they make the best cigars in the world? They need the money.
Yeah, they do.
That's why we were enjoying these.
Yeah,
I was going to say, they could sit home too. Yeah. Those people that went had a great time.
Yeah, but the nice thing was, that we ate lobster every night.
Wow.
It was really, which was all included in the price. And then they'd bring you cigars. Open it up after dinner. We smoked cigars, there in the restaurants. And after we had the lobster, Chef Hyken and I ate dinner. We were sitting next to each other. We got to be best friends. As a result, just a lot of good times, and A lot of fun. That was a convention that'll never be repeated because I know that John Rose, who was the organizer, lost
A lot of money.
a lot of money.
Well, can we even go to Cuba now?
Well, that was
Something happened. Something happened.
A special visa that we were able. It was entertainment visa, basically. It was like a cultural exchange of because we were performing in different venues for the locals to try to show them that magic is an alternate form of entertainment, just like ballet and symphony and everything else. And obviously, the dance and music. The dance and music in particular are huge in Cuba. And they were trying to prove that, magic can be entertaining too. And they played different venues. They had small clubs to larger clubs. They had dance clubs. I remember John Archer was performing, and he could tell you this story too about how that he felt like he bombed, and had the magicians not been there, perhaps he would have, and he just went right on, playing his ukulele and doing his regular thing. And these were kids who were, I say kids because they were there, to kind of hook up with each other, basically. And so they didn't care what was going on. They just wanted more loud music and drinks. It's like, what's that guy doing up there? Get off. Let's have some more DJ come up. Free bird! But he carried on and did a great job. And showed what a professional he was. But anyway,
I just know that there's cruise lines that are going there, and a friend of mine, they go to Cuba. It's an overnight, and they come back all wobble-legged at the end of the night. They're walking up the gangway. It's 6 a.m. and they're pulling the gangway up behind her. And she goes, "What are you doing?" And she goes, "We have to leave. We've been waiting on you."
They were the last
so something happened. No, they had a whole nother day. Something happened.
Oh.
Something happened. Somebody called somebody
That
and
made
said,
them
"That's
leave
it.
early."
You're gone." And they shut it down.
Wow.
And I'm just wondering if they've opened it back up. Because cruise lines were altering ships to do that. That was the big thing. They've been waiting for that forever.
Yeah.
And so NCL was going, and this friend of mine, a crew member, they went out and partied because it's an overnight. So the crew runs and parties. And they got back on board about 6 in the morning, and they literally said, "You're lucky you're not going to get fired because." And they're like, "Well, what? We're not supposed to be back till today at 2:00."
Right.
And they said, "Well, 8:00 last night they pulled the stuff up and said nobody else goes ashore.
Wow.
And when they get on, you leave." And so when she walked on, they pulled the gangway behind her, did the gun port, and pulled out.
Oh, wow.
So it was something in between, something political.
Well, that might have been surprising, I would think, to some of the passengers who were expecting the next morning to wake up and still be.
They all got refunded.
Did they?
The passengers that were leaving, I think some of the tourists left, and then they said, "You can't leave." And they started screaming and hollering, going, "You don't understand. This is political. You're not getting off the ship."
Huh.
And what they basically done is closed the port. And so as soon as these people come back, so they radioed them, and then the people that were off that they couldn't get to, they couldn't leave them. Cuba wouldn't let them leave them. In other words, Cuba don't want you there. That's the same thing as Canada. When they drop you off in Canada, you leave 24 hours or you don't get dropped off.
So what do we learn from this? If you're on a cruise ship, get off immediately.
No, just don't go to Cuba on a cruise ship.
No. But if you do, run.
Yeah, don't wait. Get off.
Run into shore. Be the first one on shore.
And wait 30 minutes before all aboard. And you're all right.
Yeah, you've got to have worked a lot of cool conventions. I mean, first of all, you've Christian have worked. Were you actually a teacher at Escorial with Tamaiz?
Escorial. Are you talking about the university?
Yeah.
Yeah, Juan has nothing to do with it.
Oh, he doesn't?
No.
Okay.
It is a couple of other guys who set it up.
Okay. Was that what Rafael Benatar was involved with? Escorial?
I don't know. Could be.
Okay.
There a lot of my friends in magic have been teachers in the university there. I actually became a student there, not because I needed to learn magic there, but because my mother had been pestering me for the longest time that it's not too late for you to go to university and get a degree.
Yeah.
So I said, well, there is a university in Spain last 3 years, and you can get a Superior de Ilusionismo.
But you didn't even speak Spanish at the time.
No, I did.
You did by that time?
By that time,
okay.
Yes. So
you tell Mom it was a magic university.
I did, and she said, because I asked her, would that be better? And she goes, yes.
Wow.
So I go, all right.
So we just say university next to magic, and we're clear. I love it.
Isn't that what Doug Henning did?
Well, he proved art. I mean, he said
he got a master's in magic or something.
He had a bachelor's in
drama,
psychology.
Okay.
He would have been a doctor. He would have been a psychologist. He'd have been Like psychiatrist. If he would have been, that's what he would have been.
And he went to the University
that's
of
interesting.
Quebec.
Oh yeah,
That's interesting.
Yeah,
I was
it's
planning.
bachelor's,
I
it's
was
bachelor's.
planning to go to medicine school and then specialize in being a psychiatrist. This was my plan.
that's exactly what Doug was doing.
before somebody offered me a little pittance of a sum to do a show.
And that changed your life?
Yeah, and
Doug too. Doug
Really?
was going to be a psychologist, and
And then he got a magic show, and he said, "This is what I want to do."
yeah,
Well,
that's what I did.
Tell your story, and I'll tell your story.
Well, I mean, I had been doing magic ever since I was 3.5. When I was in the U.S. as an exchange student back in '89, my mother came to visit with her man, and he brought me a magic book. And I started reading it more and more and more, and started doing magic about 5, 6, 7, 8 hours per day.
Do you remember the book?
It's in Swedish. It's called Close-Up Trolleri, Close-Up Magic by Åke Hallberg.
There can't be a lot of Swedish.
That's a Swedish guy. I don't think he lives anymore.
Is it a general magic book? Or?
It was close-up and
Okay.
cards, but close-up. And
general?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I loved it. I was doing that while stationed in Nebraska. Gordon, Nebraska. A little 2,000...
Gordon, where's that compared
It's
from Omaha?
it is north Nebraska. It was about 20-minute drive from South Dakota. Yeah.
Did you ever go up and see Mount Rushmore?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
That you live so close.
Saw a couple of.
Amazing place.
It is.
I mean, I think I saw John Bon Jovi in Rapid City, and all of this. So those were big in '89.
I'm one of the co-founders of the IBM Ring in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Oh, cool. I went to Lincoln once to see
Football
to see the Huskers.
Yeah,
Of course.
Of course.
So anyway, where was I?
Okay, no, but you were going to.
You were saying you were going to
be a psychiatrist.
Oh, yeah.
You had this
Exactly.
magic book that
Thank
you were.
you.
Thank God you got rid of that crap and you knew what you had found yourself. Because we're glad because we're not sick enough to go see you. This is how we got to meet you.
I went back to Finland, and because the math and the physics had been so easy in the U.S. compared to the Finnish school where I'd been. When I went back, I had math and physics, the short version of it, so to speak, the easier version. And when I came back, they had just changed from a class, so that you could take classes, you could choose your classes in the school. It's an upper secondary high school, what it was called. You could choose your classes, and I chose to change to the larger and more difficult physics and math, encouraged by success here in the U.S. in that. And I figured, I want to become a psychiatrist. That was 12 years of study. Well, the next year, when the school came around, they had a charity event at the school, and the principal, he was an amateur magician, and he knew I did magic, performed for friends. So he said, "You're gonna do 4 free shows for in a classroom, and the money goes to the charity, and you're gonna do it." And I said, "No, I'm not. I don't want to do any shows." "Oh, come on, you'll do it." And I said, "But I don't even have material, to do a stand-up show." "So I'll help you. So he helped me, and we got a show together. I did 4 shows. The first one, I was nervous. It went okay. And the next one went better. And by the third, I was very comfortable, and it went really great.
It was a stand-up show.
Yeah. And by the 4th show, I was overconfident, and I bombed pretty much everything. So thank God it was finished. It was over. I'm never going to perform in public again. That was my thought.
Yeah.
2 days later, a girl comes asking that, we're going to have a festival or a performance in the theater, and we'd like for you to get. Yeah, well, she had probably seen one of the earlier shows, not the last one.
You get.
So she comes and asks me if I would do the show, and I said, "Well, no. I've hanged up my performance gloves. I'm not doing it. Thank you very much. I'm very pleased that you asked, but no." And she said, "Well, we have a budget of about $20. We'll pay you." Cha-ching. Okay, I'll do it.
So you started thinking clear right away.
Yeah, that's right.
So and it worked well. And that same spring, my to-be wife, my then girlfriend, was working at a department store, and they had a 10-year celebration. So she got them to book me, and for a decent amount already. We're talking $100. for a guy who studies. So I thought, okay, this is good. And,
Sure.
But I wasn't really working since I was studying, but she was a few years older than me, and she wanted me to become a man. So she wanted me to work. So come fall 1992, she forced me, or encouraged me, I suppose, to go to an agency that were selling different kinds of acts, and to go there and talk to them and have them sell me as a performer.
Right.
And that's
you must have been pretty damn good,
To get
man.
an agent.
The way you
Exactly.
talking, that doesn't just happen like that. So all we got to do is know physics and stuff, and then we're gonna be good magicians, right?
Yeah.
I ain't learning all that math. Wow.
I was cheap. that was it. But
it took you away from it.
92, I was 20.
20. Okay.
And so I started, doing gigs, but with the school, and the more I did shows, the less I got interested in thinking about studying for 12 more years before earning a paycheck. So by the end, when I finished that year of school, I had already made up my mind that I'm not going to apply to medicine school. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to keep doing magic.
Yeah.
And so I sort of fell into it by mistake.
There's stories like that. Eugene Berger was teaching college or whatever.
It's about theology.
And yes, he has a master's or as a degree in Yale or from Yale in theology.
Religion,
and he started doing sponge balls and a couple of card tricks, and all of a sudden became a damn restaurant magician. Well, that all came later, but that's just he didn't want to grow up wanting to be a magician. It just kind of happened, and then bam, he got in with became a teacher. Yeah. It's funny that wasn't your first love either. That's amazing.
No, I had loved magic ever since I was 3.
Yeah, but never thought of making a living on it.
No. I mean, my first public performance was when I was 5 years old. I applied to be on a TV show, or for the TV channel to put me on TV.
In Finland.
Yes, five. Well, they saw me do, the inverted bottle with a rope, having the rope first hang and then turning the bottle and other small things. But I guess they figured I wasn't quite ready for TV yet. But
Not
they
prime
wanted
time ready.
No, but they wanted to make a radio show where they interviewed me as I was doing tricks for the interviewer.
Oh, and he would describe what you were doing.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was a woman actually. My mother still has the recording of that radio show somewhere. So I performed on the radio in 1977
Very cool.
with magic.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Well, what did Doug Henning do?
The thing with Doug, and I can't, I'm not going to get all into it, but basically, he was going to college. He would have been a doctor. He would have been a psychiatrist
In Canada.
But absolutely. But what happened was, he started doing magic, and he decided he was one of the few professional magicians, and he went for it. But one of the part of it is Ivan Reitman. Him and Ivan Reitman went to college together, and Ivan Reitman directed Little Abner, and Doug was in Little Abner. So they were friends in college.
That's one of my favorite. That and Music Man are couple of my favorite musicals.
Doug was the Lonesome Polecat.
Okay,
and I have I've got it from all the stuff.
Do you?
And so what happened was Doug said, Ivan, what are you going to do? And he goes, I'm going to direct. And Ivan says, Doug, what are you going to do? And he says, well, I'm going to be a magician. And Ivan says, well, if you do it, we'll meet up. And they did. And the short story is, everything was hinged on one show for Spellbound. And back then there was no videotapes. The guy went to see you.
And Spellbound was before the magic show.
Yeah, absolutely. And so he's created this rock opera, and the guy came to see him. And the cute story is that he told Mars was sick. Mars couldn't do the show with him.
And Mars is his.
It was his girl. That was his. It was Doug Henning and Mars. And Mars can't make it. She had mono, and they got to go do this show, and that everything hinges on that one show. And he's telling telling Nancy on the way, you can't mess up, you can't mess up, you can't mess up. Everything happens on this one show. You can't mess up, you can't mess up. She said she was terrified when they got there. The show went without a hitch. The second the show was over, the guy walked up and said, "You got your money." And then Reitman showed up, and it all that came together. Reitman was part of that, and then Reitman took him to New York. That's what my mom. You sat in the theater where magic began. You sat in the moment. You sat where it was.
Right.
Doug Henning was the single-handedly the second generation, the second golden age of magic. Doug Henning single-handedly ushered it himself. He did it himself, and it happened right there in the Court Theater. right there in 1974. That's when it happened. Jackie Onassis even went to see that show, my man. They had the Secret Service and everything there. That's how big that show was.
Yeah.
It all happened right there in that room. And
Yep.
the second golden age started. That's why we're all hanging out.
And he was there from 73 to 75.
70. Okay, Magic Show?
The Magic Show.
June of 74, October 76.
76. And they had 1,035 shows, or what was it?
You can count the
1,000?
shows, boss. I'm just telling you, it opened
Yeah.
June 74. I don't mess up my numbers, and I'm not going to do any calculus in my mind. Ask the mathematician over there. Because
But I think the theater also seats over 1,000 people. It's like 1,032 or
boss,
something.
I've never been in it, and that's why I want to go see Darren Brown.
Yeah.
I want to go. I told Caesar freaked out when I told him. I said, "Do you know
You gotta
Now,
go.
Caesar, you and I went to see Darren
Yeah.
Brown. And what do you think of Darren's show, by the way?
I think it's the best show I've ever seen in my life, honestly.
Now I really got to go. Now I really have to go.
I think the structure.
He's in New York.
At the
Is
Court
it-
Theater.
Is
Where-
it running now?
Yes.
Through
As I
January
will
the
be
6th.
in New York. I will be in New York for 2 days, from
Is-
the 10th until I leave on the 12th. So I can go on either in the evening of the 10th.
Oh, you
or
gotta
the
go
11th.
see it. You gotta go see it. It's
But
amazing.
I want to
tickets.
go. I want to go see Cohen as
Do
well.
I need to call him to get tickets?
We can tell you. I mean, what you tell him, you went. Whatever. Genie, you get 25% off if you go through Genie.
Okay.
Yeah, there were like 140. So not
Really?
too bad. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to go.
I wanna go and sit in the
It's
Court
been, it's
Theater.
been like 5-6 years since I've seen him.
It's a
we met
masterclass, yeah.
briefly.
In
Max
London?
Maven,
In
yes.
London? Okay.
Yeah, Max Maven was sitting with him at the table, and he asked me to do my card to pocket for
Darren?
Darren. As a matter of fact, Darren was fooled up until the moment the pockets disappeared, and then later he told me that he was fooled up until that moment, and then he realized how it was done, more or less.
Okay.
And that stuck with me because I'm never going to leave away. If you've seen it's the trick I did for Penn and Teller.
Yeah.
So I'm never going to
I
leave
just
away.
realized that was you, and I just got a cold chill. That was you.
Yeah.
Why the hell didn't I figure that out? I've been talking to you all day. That was you. Boss, I love that. That was sexy as can be.
Oh, thank
That
you.
was sexy as can be. No, Drake and I.
he wasn't full.
Yes, but I didn't realize that was that trick. I just remember. No, my friend Drake and I were talking about that when that pocket disappeared, and that was you. Oh, hot dog! All right, I'm happy. I'm even happy again.
I'm never going to leave that trick. The pockets disappearing away because I think it's nice. But Darren was right that a thoughtful magician that will give you a clue to how the cards got into the pockets in the first place.
Oh, I think I figured it out, but I
Yeah.
just love the trick. I just loved it.
So, when I went to Fool Us, and I wanted to do my Triumph, but because they had already booked Alexandra Duvivier to do a Triumph, her father's, the great Triumph, the producers wanted to, diversify, so they asked me to do the card to pocket, and I thought, well, it's good, but it's not going to fool them, And the night before, I realized I have to change the rules of the game a little bit. I remember what Eric Mead had done. He had been there a year or two before, and he had explained, he had set the rules again. He had told them, on stage, he told them that, magicians and lay people are so different, that if you manage to fool a lay person 90% of the trick, but they figure out 10%, they will feel that they were not fooled.
That's exactly right.
But magicians, if you manage to fool them just at 10%, they will feel that they was fooled. So
we're an odd lot.
You guys are magicians, so I hope if I fool you even 10%, that'll be. So he set out, and that was very clever of him.
Yes, he did.
Now, so
I remember that.
I wanted to do the same thing, but I didn't want to go into the same speech because they've already heard it.
Yeah.
So I reset the terms of the trick by saying that I highlighted that the fairness of the two cards being chosen and how they are shuffled by the spectator. This is what really gets magicians. So I laid down the challenge for that aspect of the trick, which is actually the one aspect that actually fooled them. So that's why I managed to fool them.
I wrote you an email, I think, about whether you had to buy a new shirt or not, because as I recall, that
Yeah,
lady
they
handed you
marked-
back the Sharpie
Yeah.
without the lid on it.
It was a guy.
And he marked your shirt accidentally.
Yeah, I marked it because I didn't realize. Yeah, but I got the stain out.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah, I did.
But
I don't remember how, but I got it out. And later, just a few weeks ago, I marked again with a magic marker the pocket and I couldn't get the stain out. So.
But that was something that you had mentioned about Tamaiz earlier in the lecture, about how that you are, rather than how Tamaiz and what you do is to create the moment in the people's minds so that magic actually happens when you say, but you shuffled it and you cut it. In other words, that they're recreating in their mind as you are reminding them about these certain points and elements of it, which actually makes the magic what it is.
Oh, yeah, and that's where we can create all sorts of false memories in their mind as well,
right,
which helps to increase that impossibility and that, for them to make it a little bit more difficult to stray from the path to the magic rainbow, as Juan calls it. Because people's mind tend to wander, so they want to take all of these roads that lead away from the magic rainbow. It's our job to keep them on the path. And the way to do that is to not let their mind get cluttered with the facts.
Right. But you also need to pause enough to let that sink in. Definitely. And I think a lot of us, myself included, talk too quickly through that and rush to the next thing, as opposed to giving them time to say, wait a minute, what just did happen?
Well, and it's, I remember that I've been taught when I started out that if you do a trick that can be vulnerable to a person who is analytical, that they can crack it, just do another trick immediately so they don't have time.
Okay. That's why you do 3 tricks. Usually, I've heard this before.
So much going on, you can't.
With 3 tricks, the first one, that people are going to say, wait a minute, and then they might start to talk to each other about how it was done. You're into your second trick, and then you finish with that, and they go, wow. And they go, wait, well, what just happened? Yeah. And by the third trick, they're focused, and they're like, okay, I give up. I don't know what he's doing.
Well,
also I think good act doesn't give you time to do that.
But
good
no,
I
disagree.
Time to jump
no, but I disagree. I really think that we have to give them time. I think it's a weakness of
flow. I'm talking about the flow.
But I think it's the weakness of the routine. It's a weakness if we can't let them examine the effect and yet not find any solution. We've then not constructed the routine well enough to withstand analytical thinking.
Okay.
Now, that's what I mean by...
Wait, so you have to construct it where they can figure it out? Or
no. That they should not be able to figure it out. Even if we give them all the time in the world, they should not be able to find out the secret.
No solution.
And not just the secret, any solution. And that's where Juan's book of The Magic Way,
No, it opened my eyes. It completely changed everything about.
That goes back to Doug Henning and Gene Anderson, because I was at FISM and Juan was selling the Magic Way book. It had just come out, and Gene said, "I said, so what have you seen here? What do I need to buy?" And he said, "Go directly to Juan Tamariz's booth, buy the book. Don't ask any questions. That's the book you need." And he was right.
It changed me completely.
It was an amazing book.
And I roll my sleeves up and everything before a coin vanish, and that book's a phenomenal book on many levels, and that's what I love it. He shows all the forks in the road.
Yes.
And he says if they go on that fork, he goes, they'll never experience it. And just the way he said it, it made it easy for us non-poets to understand.
Yeah, I agree.
You cancel them out. It never happens. And it definitely, I'd never thought of anything like that. And boss, I've read a lot of books.
Change your way of thinking.
Eugene Berger changed me a lot. To me, Eugene Berger was far more important than Vernon. For me. Because Eugene Berger taught us how to be entertaining.
Yeah.
And now Juan is teaching us how to really destroy people, how not even get them to start thinking that. We never thought of that. I never thought of that.
I'm anxious to dig into the new Eugene Berger by Larry Haas.
I'm sure it's going to be good.
It's going to be good, yeah.
But you know what? Eugene knew how to talk to people. Kind of like some of the sentences you have. When Eugene said he opens with the haunted pack, which he did not. For 25 years, he never opened with that trick. He opened near the end of his life with that trick. Yeah. But he opened with the haunted pack, and Eugene said, when those cards move, he goes, I get a different kind of attention from people. And that changes everything right there. You go, oh my God, okay, wait a minute. They're looking, going, oh my God, this is not my uncle doing card tricks anymore.
That's true.
So I learned from that, you get a different kind of attention. You do the same thing. You'll say you just have that one thing that you say, well, this, and it makes everything clear. And so that's
a good point. Another thing that you had said, Christian, about how that you do have to have clarity and conciseness.
Plot has to be. A 7-year-old child's got to be able to explain it to their mother the next day. A 7-year-old child. That's Roger Klaus. Roger Klaus. A 7-year-old child's got to say, "Mommy, he made the lady float."
Yeah.
In my show, the 7 tricks. I'm sorry, I'm dominating, and I'll shut up. But you will like this. You will like this.
Yes.
I open with Half Died. I was taught by Billy McComb.
Okay.
I go into Sensational Rope. I was taught by George Sands. I do the bill switch. I was taught by Roger Klaus. After the bill switch, I do the egg bag. I was taught by Charlie Miller. After the egg bag, I do the linking rings. I was taught by Richard Ross. And after the linking rings, I do the newspaper, and I was taught by Gene Anderson.
Oh, jeez.
I can clearly say that my show was taught to me from master to student.
Yes.
And I learned, and even though I read their books and was doing the tricks before I met the people, I begged them to teach me. And Gene Anderson said, I saw you do it in Norfolk. He goes, you do it better than me. I said, please, I've got to be able to tell people that you taught me. And Gene taught me things I did not know. I swear to God.
Yeah.
And I've been doing the trick 20 years. Yeah. And Gene goes, Chifter, it's in the tear. He goes, you tear it perfectly. He goes, you can tell if a guy knows what he's doing by he tears the paper. He goes, Chifter, you do it perfectly. I said, Gene, please teach me. He goes, Chifter. And I said, please, Gene. And I got it all on video. And I swear to God, he taught me things I did not know.
Well, he lived with, or rather, Doug Henning and Debbie lived with Gene for a while. As he
Debbie. And that
was Mars?
That would have been Mars and even before Mars.
Okay.
I've got a picture of Doug with Gene when Gene taught him. Gene never had hair. There's a picture of Doug when he taught him the newspaper.
Funny.
But yeah, Gene saw Spellbound, and Gene and Doug were really, very close. Gene had a hippie van. He had a Volkswagen van.
Yeah.
And they'd run around in the van, and they were buddies. And then, but when he hit New York, and he hit stardom, Gene was there opening night. And they talked once or twice, and that was it. In other words, the student had moved. It was me and Scott Hollingsworth.
Yeah.
You know, Scott Hollingsworth groomed me, and when I got my first 3-month contract, Scott literally goes, I've lost you. And I said, oh no, Scott, I love you. I'll never go. He goes, no, you're gone. He goes, you're gone. He goes, I know. He goes, you're going to be 3 months on the ship because I'll never see you again. And I said, of course you will. I said, Scott, I'm always going to work here. He goes, no. He goes, that's what I was here for. He goes, my job is done. Get out of here. So he told me. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Scott goes, I've lost you.
Yeah.
When I told him Ron Wilson, he goes, Ron Wilson got you, didn't he? And I said, yeah. And he goes, I knew it.
You're done. Yeah.
And I'm like, Scott, don't talk like that. And I always worked there.
Yeah.
I always went back, and because that's my roots. And but I've never forget. Scott goes, I lost you because you're gone. He goes, but that was the intention.
Yeah.
He goes, you were ready for me when I showed up, and he goes, now you're ready to go.
He taught
Scott Hollingsworth is not a Zen Buddhist master. But he talks like a Zen master. He goes, yeah, you were ready for me when I showed up. And he goes, now you're ready to go. He goes, you're gone. No, Scott, I would never do that. And he's right. I was gone 29 years. I never went to conventions or anything all those years. I was loving what I was doing. He was very kind to me in the house today. He goes, apparently you're pretty good at what you do. He goes, I said, boss, I got to thank my dad for making me save my money. I said, I'm just being honest. He goes, you must have been pretty good. Yeah. And then I told him, I said, I'm going to go see you. He goes, well, you got a nice car. He goes, you'll be all comfortable, guy. I said, well, thank my dad. It was a blast meeting him today. It was, and I wish you'd tell this. Tell the story when you met Dani. Man, that is
DaOrtiz,
so cool.
Yeah.
That is
sure.
Why am I so excited about that?
I don't
that
know.
to me is real magic. Real magic that transcends language.
I can't explain.
And you were brothers when you met, weren't you? You were still friends. All this.
Yeah.
But they could. Please tell that story.
We're talking about Dani DaOrtiz.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was moving back to. I was moving to the south of Spain for about 6 months in 2004, and. Juan had been on my case to learn Spanish for years because I was going to his convention, El Escorial, and I had not. I made no effort. I thought to myself, no, I'm not going to.
How many languages do you speak?
Now, Finnish, Swedish, English, Spanish, and a little bit of French.
Wow.
So I'd say 4.5 maybe.
Well, don't y'all learn 4 growing up? Where you are?
No, in Finland, Finland is bilingual, so everyone's supposed to learn Finnish and Swedish and English. So 3 languages is guaranteed, pretty much. Okay. But yeah, I mean, we need to. In Finland, there's 5.5 million people, so you don't talk with someone else, you better learn languages.
Yeah.
Sure.
So.
But Europe in general.
Well, I suppose, yes. So, I mean, I asked Juan, is there someone I should meet as I go to the south of Spain, and I'm going to be there? And they said, well, yes, there's this young, promising kid. His name is Dani DaOrtiz. And, okay, so he gave me a phone number. And then I decided to call him once I got there. I'm living in Fuengirola, and Dani lives in Estepona, another city about an hour and a half drive from, or an hour drive from
Madrid?
No, from in the south of Spain. Oh. From Fuengirola, which is a very tourist place, where a lot of tourists live.
Near the beach?
It's at the beach, yeah.
Okay.
So I call him, and he answers, hola. And I go, hello? I'm Christian Engblom. I'm trying to reach Dani DaOrtiz. Si, soy Dani. is what he's answering, and I'm going, do you speak English? Inglés? No. so we try to talk. So on the phone, we're trying to discuss and introduce one another.
You're saying Juan sent you.
I'm saying something about Juan Tamaiz and blah 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 blah, and trying to. I'm talking to him in English. He's answering in Spanish, and we have no idea really what we're saying, but we try to arrange a meeting in Malaga, which is neither of our cities, in the train station on a specific day at a specific time, and I have no idea how we succeed in that. But we meet there, and then we go and sit in a coffee place and do magic. And he does a lot of wonderful magic. He was already a master of lapping back then, so we become very good friends. And
but not able to talk.
No. We're just
mind-boggling.
Speaking the
magic is truly transcending
the language of magic.
It was.
The world.
It was, and as a matter of fact, Juan is really thinking way ahead. He had tried to get me to learn Spanish for years. I would not. So he sets me up with this Spanish-speaking magician, a very good one. And the only way I can communicate with the man is if I start learning Spanish. So that's what I did. So Juan got his wish.
I wonder if Juan actually had you set up with him because he wanted Dani to learn English.
Maybe.
He's probably that smart. Yeah. He probably set it up. That's great. But I just love that. To me, that's a magical story, how magic transcends. They say that magic is universal, and there's right there in front of you, and it's such a beautiful thing. I can imagine you two showing each other double lifts or something. Okay, and you can't talk. I can just see it.
We were doing that, and it was great. I mean, then I used to follow. I wasn't working while I was living there. I was playing a lot of online poker, making decent living like that. And and then Dani,
since you couldn't legally play in Finland, they'd already kicked you out of the casino.
No, they hadn't kicked me until 2011. So I'm okay.
Now, what year was this?
This was 2004.
When you were talking. Okay.
Now, are you still? Can you go online now, or would they still?
Online, I can play anywhere I want to, but
I don't know if they had a database.
No. Online, I'm good, but I don't want to play online. It's a different kind of game. You need to use all sorts of poker tracker softwares, and I was never into those. It's a different kind of game. It's not the same as being live.
You like the real game.
I do. Sure. So here's a story I haven't told you. Dani, seeing my success, he was struggling to make ends meet. He was working pubs, like 3-4 pubs per week, for pretty small amounts of money, and I followed him to these pubs, watched him, perform. Sometimes we'd do, double team the spectators. I would be his secret helper. He'd pass me a card, I'd blow it in a bottle or what have you, and he'd produce it. It was funny. But he saw the amount of money I was winning playing poker, so he got really interested in poker. He wanted to play poker. By then, my magic had already suffered a little bit because I was playing too much poker. You wanted to be good at it, you have to put time into it, right? And I realized if Dani goes that way, he's smart enough, he's going to earn money playing poker, for sure. But his magic is going to suffer. And he's very, very good. So I told him, do not start poker. Don't play poker. Your magic will suffer. Don't do it. And fortunately enough, he listened. And I think the magic kingdom, the magicians all over the world, should thank me for saving Dani DaOrtiz for all of us.
We loved him. We loved him. We loved him just last August. Thank you.
You're welcome.
and we're doing invisible decks with no cards because you made him stay in. God bless you. You saved us. You saved magic.
Thank you. I saved
Christian,
magic.
You are a defender of magic.
Thank you.
Right.
I accept the honor without.
You know what I say? I call magic a thing, like the magic universe or whatever you want to call it. Like kid show magicians. It's all a thing. And so that's it, boss. You're a defender of magic. Max Maven says, "Is it better when you left?" Well, you've already made it better, and you haven't even left yet. There you go, Big Daddy. There you go.
Well, thanks, Chip.
No, we've had a lot of fun with Dani. And see, I could since I didn't speak Spanish, and so I hook up with Caesar, and Caesar's like, "Oh yeah, triple intuition, I got it." And so Caesar's watching the the explanations, whatever, telling me what to do. And Natty Caesar's got me set up with different English tricks, with English explanations where I can watch it now. And anyway, we're going to do triple intuition in a minute too.
Do you speak Spanish pretty
Yeah, I
fluently?
speak Spanish fluently. Yes,
He's
sir.
not helping me. He's helping me.
Yeah, and Danny's like the thing he put out, like Utopia, it was like in Spanish with like subtitles in English.
Yeah.
like during the shows, the performances. Yeah, so I could see how it must have been like, difficult, like to try and follow the trick and read at the same time.
The first DVD we ever did with Dani, that was in 2005. He came to Finland. Actually, as a matter of fact, Finland was the first place Dani ever lectured outside of Spain.
Wow.
So he came to Finland. He was doing
Because of your friendship?
Yeah, he was doing the lecture in Spanish, and my Spanish wasn't great, but I was doing the translation into Finnish, at the lecture.
Yeah.
And some of the sentences I didn't quite understand, so I just told them what I thought he was saying.
Nobody can argue.
No, he couldn't argue with you.
Nobody could.
Yeah, because he can't speak Finnish.
No, and the people there didn't speak Spanish.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was
Plus,
it was
you
great.
knew what he was doing too. So
Yeah.
That's true.
So great.
I mean, Dani wanted to make a DVD together, and he had proposed it to me. Earlier that year, I had been to Vegas, and Paul Harris knew about the Anti-Faro, and he asked me that would I be willing to do put it on a DVD with him. And I said, I'm sorry, I promised to put it with Dani DaOrtiz on a DVD, and so I never did. But with Dani we did, and I put it on Kerraro, which is the first DVD we filmed it
What's
in my
Kerraro mean?
How strange. So we filmed it in my living room in Helsinki. I was living there at the time, and that's where we filmed it. And it was fun. We had fun doing it. It was really good. Dani had very broken English, but he did his best. And then we had put subtitles in Spanish and Finnish. So if you want to ever learn either language, just watch it and read the subtitles. Learn it. Yeah, it's funny.
And we'll be able to say double lift and.
Where can people find
Double lift is double lift. Double lift.
Where can people,
That's what I say when I'm drunk. That's how I say it when I'm drunk.
where can they find that? I mean, if people want to buy that, I mean, you've got a website or?
Actually, the best place would be to go to Dani's grupocaps.com. Grupo Caps, like Fred Caps.
GRUPO.
Yeah, GRUPO Caps altogether.
CAP.
KAP, like Fred
like
Caps.
Fred Caps. Okay.
And he's got a big website.
.com.
I believe so. Yes, and there you can find it. On top of that, I think Dani has the Netflix of magic. He has hundreds of video titles from all sorts of great magicians in Spanish and English.
In his personal collection, you mean, or what?
On the website,
And
you can become a subscriber like Netflix, and you have all those videos available to you.
Well, I know
It's
there's a Netflix of magic going on right now. That
Magic Flicks.
Exactly.
They're trying to get.
So is it going to be kind of like that?
No, Dani has been doing his for a couple of years now.
Okay.
He just calls it the Netflix, magic, but it's Grupo Caps is you can do a subscription. You can buy the videos singly, and then
is
they're
it in
always
English
in
or
your.
Spanish?
It's in English.
Okay.
Yeah, and in Spanish. Good.
So I just want to conclude over here and say thank you guys very much for being on the podcast. One of the things I've already talked to Chip in the past, and you can go back and listen to the podcast Chip and I had done and talking about cruise ships.
We need to do another one. You need to come to the house. We said that, and you never came.
That's
So
something in the future.
When you get time, come over.
I will.
Baby.
But one of the things I always like to conclude with is to, because my podcast is called The Magic Word, so what is your philosophy of life? What is it that, doesn't have to be a word.
Yeah, I'm a hedonist.
A hedonist?
A hedonist,
okay.
Yes. In the ancient Greeks, it was actually a religion.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
hedonism.
Yes. A hedonist.
Hedonist.
Not necessarily a hedonism, but a hedonist. Hedonist is someone who enjoys life to the fullest. Believes in minimizing pain, maximizing pleasure without hurting others. Now, that's not my religion. I'm Lutheran. But my point being that I believe that life is a gift.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you believe it comes from God or from wherever, it's a gift. And just like any gifts,
you should enjoy them, so that the person or entity who gave you this gift, feels that it doesn't go to waste. So therefore, I think us smoking a wonderful Cuban cigar, drinking this wonderful martini in good company, this is the life. And talking magic, well, that's right. It's just makes it all the more sweeter.
So enjoy life.
Enjoy life is my motto.
That's great. Thank you, Christian. Thanks very much for being on.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, I appreciate you being here and chat. And also, Caesar, thanks very much.
Oh, thank you for having
Rob?
me here.
Thanks.
I know I didn't say much just because the martinis are super strong.
That's his MO. That's his MO. Everybody's so happy when they leave. Everybody's all happy and singing.
I didn't know we talked about that. That's right. Thank you, Chip, of course, as always.
Thank you for having us here at your home. This was wonderful, and there's a lot of people out there very jealous right now. And
they are.
We don't blame you. We don't blame you for being jealous. We're blessed. We had a great night tonight. Thank you very much for having us.
Thanks a lot. So the Magic Word Podcast. That was Chip Romero.
Oh, can I say one thing real quick?
Yeah, sure can.
Whatever you do, don't miss Christian's lecture. We never once said how great the lecture was. We just started talking, and we asked him all kinds of stories. The lecture is a powerhouse. It's a powerhouse. And before you go, it's going to be about 3.5 hours, so you better be there, and you got to be ready. It's a long time. He talks a lot, and you better go. Yeah. So there you go.
Vote for Jesus.
Got to give a shout out to the lecture.
Thank you, Chip. Where do I make the donation?
No donation. No donation. Hey, you already taught us stuff tonight. You already taught us all the stuff that you don't teach in the lecture. And I'm sorry that you only get that with martinis and cohibas. So
and with the Magic Word Podcast.
And the Magic Word.
Well, they get to. If you give a donation, you can give it to the magicwordpodcast.com. And if you go to there, you can also see how you can be a patron and be a friend of the Magic Word. So thank you again very much, guys. Chip Romero, Cesar Trujillo, this is Rob Greenlee, and of course Christian Engblom, and this is Scotty out. Well, I want to thank Christian Engblom and also, of course, Chip Romero and Cesar Trujillo and Rob Greenlee for coming over and enjoying a great conversation along with some cigars and martini. It was just a lot of fun. And also, I want to echo Chip's remarks, and that is that if you get a chance to see Christian Engblom's lecture, it is really good. Again, you can tell by the conversation we had here that he has a lot of insight to some theories and some great stories and things, and such a wonderful gentleman to sit and share his time with us. And I hope that you enjoyed our time with you. And so if you haven't already liked our Facebook page, we really would appreciate if we can kind of grow that. It's been stagnant for a while, and we haven't had any new people who have liked the Facebook page. So if you'll go over to there and please like us on Facebook at the Magic Word Podcast. Just type it in, look for us, you'll find it, like it, and we'll appreciate that. I don't know what really that does, but it helps, I think, just with our social extension of wherever that we're going out in the future then as well. Let more people kind of know about the Magic Word Podcast. And of course, if you haven't already subscribed to our pod letter, be sure to do that. And you can find out each week what is going to be going on, who we have up this week, and who's coming up next week. And as to who we're going to be having next week, well, you'll have to read the newsletter. I should say the pod letter. So, until next week, stay well, get booked, and enjoy life. This is Scotty out.